Hey basketball coaches and players, today I'm going to talk to you about when you should run a 2-3 zone defense versus when you should run a 3-2 zone defense. Now let's get down to the clipboard and let's check out these two zones. So to really understand the differences between these zones, we really need to learn what each one does first. So what we would like to really look at right now are the zones and areas of the court that each zone really does cover. So in a 2-3 zone, we have two players up top, and these are roughly their zones. From there, as you can see, there are double team locations as well as single coverage locations too. Any of these double team locations are where the zones overlap. Now, from there, obviously there are times where a double team is not always preferable. However, we're not going to be really talking about that today. A 2-3 zone defense really does want to protect the key. That is the main goal in most zones, and that is definitely the goal in the 2-3. There are ways of beating a 2-3 zone defense, and one of the major ways of doing so is by having a player who is at the point, which is a double team location. You have a player who cuts across to the free throw line or the elbows. These are the elbows, this is the free throw line, and you would be able to pass that ball there. Now, because the key is player 5's zone, in a lot of cases, you will have player 5 move up, and player 4 should move in to cover player 5. However, if that cover was slow, or if player 5 was able to post up the inside of player 4, this could be a high to low pass and a very easy score. So, anytime a team starts to go high to low on your team, you should either switch out of your zone defense or you should switch into a different zone defense. Now, in a 3-2 zone, there are a couple of different ways of running this zone, but the basic way of running it is by having player 2 cover this zone, player 1 covering here, as well as player 3 covering here, player 4 covering this area, and player 5 covering that area. Now, there are differences in opinion on how to run a 3-2 zone. Some coaches like to run a 3-2 zone like so, where you would have 5 and 4 guarding the posts only, player 2 and 3 guarding the wings, and player 1 guarding the point. There is benefits to this because this will allow you to trap players along the baseline, which could create a lot of turnovers. The other benefit to this is if you had, for example, a player who then passed over towards the wing, this is the corner, this is the point, and you had another player who then went over towards the high post, you had a pass into the high post, which would then have player 4 pop up to guard player 2, and then you had player 1 then cut down. This could be a high to low pass and could be very deadly. However, what mostly happens in this case is not that. It would be player 1 cutting down, player 4 following, and player 3 then covering, or player 1 covering. That would be the preferable way. Now, the idea behind any defense is to disallow any shots from the key, and that goes the same with pretty much every single zone defense that is out there. The reason for that is to get a basket or a shot inside the key is a lot higher of a percentage than it is from the 3-point line, and that is why most teams will run a zone defense. So when should you run a 3-2 zone defense versus a 2-3? Well, one easy way of being able to decide is if you have a team that you're playing up against who takes a lot of 3-point shots and does not have a credible in-paint or a low post threat, then you can run a 3-2 zone against them and not have to worry. This would go for teams that, for example, may run a 5-out zone or a 5-out offense, in which case you're totally covered. You can have a quick pass to the corner, and then if you're defending the way where player 4 is able to defend that whole area, you would then have player 4 able to cover that, and if player 2 cut, it wouldn't matter because player 5 would then be covering that cut, and then we would have player 2 move down and player 1 move down towards that elbow. However, if you were playing the type of zone where you would have player 3 moving down, player 4 moving out, you would then have to have player 5 guarding this side of the key, player 2 moving in towards this elbow, and player 1 covering that elbow. This is still a very credible solution to be able to get a turnover and to be able to guard the three-point shot, but if you're playing up against a very fast team, I would definitely recommend running a more advanced version, which would be called the switching zone, which is when you pass that ball up, player 1 is now guarding player 5 up top. We now have player 2 guarding the top of the zone. Player 5 would then swing and be the top of the zone, and meanwhile this 3-2 zone would then be basically organized like this. If you're playing up against a fast passing team, this could be a good solution so that you never have players left open. Now just getting down to the bottom of it, basically a 2-3 zone is going to allow you to double team the low post. It's also going to allow you to be able to defend that key much better. In a 3-2 zone, whether you're running the trapping version or not, that is to allow you to defend the three-point line a lot better. There's also highly skilled or more advanced zone defenses as well, like a 2-1-2 or a box-in-1, though it's kind of a janky zone anyways. But there's also my unbeatable and perimeter basketball defenses as well that I ran with my teams. You can go check those out in the description below. Personally, I like those a lot better than any other zone. They tend to double team the perimeter if it's the perimeter defense, and they double team every player from the free throw line and below. If you would like to go check that out, links down below. I hope that this video has helped you become a better team. If it has, hit that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you guys again next time.